If we could slowly start sitting down so we can start in a bit, please. All find your seats. We're gonna start in no time.
Hi everyone. I'm gonna bring the conversation to a close. We're gonna start the next session nice and properly because we have many people online. It is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Messeh Leone from the Messeh Leone Trust. He has been delivering some incredible surf therapy in Sierra Leone, and it's a pleasure as a friend and a colleague to introduce him.
I hope I am being clear there. Wow, what a great meeting. I'm very honored to be part of this, and thank you, Jamie, for that very well powerful and welcome there. Indeed, Jamie is a very good friend, dear friend, and we've been part of this work together, this journey. So I thank you very much, and I thank the organizers for the opportunity to be able to contribute here. I do speak fast sometimes, but if there is any point I'm not clear, please do feel free to ask me at some point. So yes, good afternoon. I am Messeh Leone. I'm from Sierra Leone, so we work in Sierra Leone with the Wave Alliance. We are part of the Wave Alliance in Sierra Leone, which is a coalition of community-based development organizations that have successfully introduced evidence-based soft therapy programs to beaches, well, communities across Freetown in Sierra Leone. The alliance is coordinated by the Messeh Leone Trust. We have additional technical assistance provided by the Waves for Change. You've been supportive of that work, which is an international award-winning non-profit that has pioneered the use of soft therapy as a health intervention. We've also received support, monitor and evaluation support, which is provided by the Edinburgh Napa University, United Kingdom, of which Jamie is part of that. So the Wave Alliance, we provide the child-friendly mental health and well-being services to at-risk youth living in unstable communities who are often exposed to social, economic, environmental challenges. And through access to the safe spaces, the caring mentors, and the provision of soft therapy sessions, the Alliance gives young people skills to cope with, especially with stress, regulate behavior, build healthy relationships, and make positive life choices. So I started with the background of the Wave Alliance and who we are. But it's a story that I want to share with you all here today. Why, in the first place, we started the Wave Alliance in Sierra Leone and how that story, how we started. So the theme of this conference is on building trust. And we feel we find this theme very interesting, very important, because this theme is the foundation, is the core. It's in fact the reason why we are succeeding in Sierra Leone. You know, when you go to a community that is deprived, massive poverty, people are struggling, there is massive distrust. You have to be able to be trustworthy. You have to be able to build not just trust, but mutual trust between us and the communities, the young people, the children. I'm giving all the suspicion with NGOs and with Western concepts and projects. So this for us is a very important theme, is very, very timely. Before I go to the theme proper, I want to just start with how we started and to connect that to this theme. So we receive a call, a contact. This is based on our research and the work we've been doing for many years across countries in the world. I'm in Sierra Leone, and then we came into a very good contact, which is like the amazing work that Waves for Change are doing in South Africa. But this is a group, this is an organization we don't know. Like we don't know where they are what they are doing, how they develop their concept, what it is about. They're doing soft therapy somewhere in South Africa, other parts of the world. We saw the amazing work in the website, and we had conversations, meetings. But the first challenge was, how do you get young people from Sierra Leone, like young people, to go to South Africa, to an unknown land, the first time, their first experience? How do you get young people to meet people who they will call strangers with a new concept with surfing? Surf therapy in Sierra Leone is non-existent. It is a new concept. There are a lot of traditional barriers, misconceptions, expectations. So to get young people to travel to South Africa and be part of the Waves for Change training was the first test of building trust. That's the first test we had to overcome. And how did that happen? It comes about through what I will call the ABC. So there is action, there's behavior, and there is communication, which is transparency, consistency, behavior. Everything come to play. How the relationship developed between us and the Waves for Change team in South Africa. So when they said they would do something, they did it. We saw the evidence. When they told us, you guys go to the beaches, run sessions, we'll bring it to South Africa, and they brought us to South Africa. So whatever they said, their words were in line with their actions. So there was consistency, there were transparency, the behavior, and so we had the confidence to travel to South Africa in the first place and be trained. And that is how a small footstep, a small start of a joining became a massive program in Sierra Leone today. So we are very grateful to the Waves for Change in South Africa. And that seed they sow in us to start the process of not just being trained in South Africa, but take that trust back to Sierra Leone to develop our program there. So that is how we started, with different organizations in the communities, young people who are very strange to each other, but we are able to build trust together and work together. So I want to share maybe just a video, a clip of what we did in South Africa and how that small effort in South Africa, as a result of building mutual trust, resulted in an impactful program in Sierra Leone, which I will talk about later, but I just want to show that video so you see how it started in South Africa. Important moment for us to come and learn, but also take this back to Sierra Leone. It's economy, it brings development, it's promotes tourism, it helps empower young people, it's about mental, it's about the mindset, it's about respect, it's about love, it's about compassion, it's about unity, it's about people working together and caring for each other. So they've been learning a lot of skills here. These are important skills for life. It's what we need. Is waking up in the morning and being able to think positively, being able to go to work. You have the right mindset, do the right thing, look after your colleagues. One of the things we've been taught here is that how do you care for your fellow human beings? Can you ask them, are you okay?
The coaches were looking after each other, they were together. There was lots of shouting and clapping and high fives. Everyone was safe. Everyone caught waves. Everyone had fun. I thought it was really good.
If you are the
So that we can practice things that make us feel good, and so that we can develop strong mind, strong body, strong community. And we're going to practice it here in South Africa, and then we're going to take it back to the beaches in Freetown.
It's going good. They're learning how to teach each other to surf. So they're practicing things like patience, building trust, communicating with one another. And if they can learn those behaviors, then it's all about creating the relationships which make us feel stronger in our minds and our bodies. And all about surfing, all about mental health, all around creating safe spaces where you can share your feelings, form new caring connections. So all the things that we need in our life to feel strong in our minds, our bodies, and then building these safe communities that we all need. I think it's been good. They seem to have been getting the key messages. Now we need to see if they can take it home.
So that's how the joining started, and you can see the environment. You have young people, caring mentors from different backgrounds, different race or language, accent, but we're able to connect at that level. And we also had a responsibility from that training to go back home with what we call the I will statement, which is embedded in our 5 pillars. I will talk about the 5 pillars as we go along. So the young people that went to South Africa, they were both male, female. We returned back to Sierra Leone to go and share what we've learned from South Africa. But we returned back to Sierra Leone and faced with many challenges. And these challenges are common with programs in developing countries. And these are challenges you may have faced equally in your programs across the world. So the challenges are also linked to this theme. First, it's a new concept in the communities. What is this? What is self-therapy? How do we have to explain to these communities for something they've never seen before, how it works with surfboard? So that was the first question we need to answer. Second is a new community. We have mentors, we have people who come to the communities who are not maybe sometimes used to the communities to come and support, like mentors coming from different communities to work together to network. So it was a strange environment. We had new people, we don't know them, they don't know us. Sometimes the communities, the children who come together, they don't know each other. So how do you connect them? We also saw this as it's a new concept of how to deliver mental health. In fact, mental health is a non-starter in Sierra Leone. It is not discussed. It is not, in fact, limited or no services for mental health. So even the word mental health is a challenge to explain that to the community. And not to talk about using soft therapy. It makes it more complex. But how do you move forward with that? We don't have a track record in delivering this program. We've done so much in terms of development, generally with education, health, with development in the communities. But soft therapy was new. There's no track record. We only relied on the track record that the Waves for Change had built over the years. So we need to show that we have a good track record. Water safety was a challenge. It is traditional in Sierra Leone that when children go to water, they have this mami water, or they will go, they will not come back. So parents were very timid and scared to take their children to water. And not to talk about to go with a surfboard, a sport that is seen as sorry, I don't want to use this word, but it's a stranger sport. Like, it's from a new environment. They are not used to it. It's for the rich, not for the poor. So that was a challenge. So we faced these traditional barriers. But also, these are poor communities. What they want is food to eat. What they want is health. What they want is for their children to go to school. So they are not used to mental health issues. They don't even know the impact it has on the children going to school. So these were challenges that we faced, and how we can overcome them was a big part of our work, and managing those expectations. And so then we are faced with all those challenges. How we overcame those challenges is probably the closing of my presentation, and that's linked to what we've achieved. So there's a popular saying, I think it's a Dutch one, but it's also commonly spoken in Africa, that trust comes on foot but then sometimes it lives on horseback. That was time immemorial. If we take it to the context now, we will say trust will live with an aeroplane, with a flight, or trust will live with a surfboard on the waves. Because when you catch the waves, it just goes with you. So trust will just live like that. Okay. So you have to be able to maintain that trust consistently. And I just spoke about our ABC, which is the action, the behavior, and the consistency and communication that we put in place to ensure that we can build trust. But more importantly, we are able to use our 5 pillars. The 5 pillars, first, we provided a safe space for the young people. So when the parent, the community see that the children have been afforded a safe space, we've not recorded any complaint or any abuse of a child protection policies were there. So the trust starts coming in because the safe space we provided was a credible one. That's the first pillar. The second one, we have caring mentors or caring adults. So I am one of them. And those who went to South Africa, who've trained other local mentors, they have a responsibility to look after those children, to provide a program and be safe and be caring. So that also builds the trust. And then the third pillar, which is the fun activities that the children have. When they come, if they are stressed, they are sad, we gave them a space to smile. You can see from their pictures, beautiful. And then the fourth pillar is also the coping skill, which is very important. How they can manage their stress, how they can concentrate, how they can connect, in the society, and how they can be responsible citizens. So that fourth pillar of providing them the coping skills and the life skill was very important in building that trust. And then more importantly, finally, is the power of working together. So we as people from different backgrounds, we were able to come together and we are building a united Sierra Leone. So that power, that 5 pillar has helped us in pushing that trust agenda. And when we achieved that, we are able to overcome the issues. We built those trust. What happened is success. The success story is here. There are challenges. I will talk about them maybe briefly. Everything has challenges. But for the success story, I am very proud to share with you here today is that we've been able to engage hundreds of children, and it's a multiple engagement. So you engage a child, they go to the community, the family, they benefit from what we deliver. So hundreds of children come to the beaches every weekend. We have caring mentors, and they are being supported, provided with a safe space, and they are being able to be supported with mental health facilities. We've been able to secure safe spaces in the beaches. That is also a test of trust. We are from nowhere, and the local chief says, look, we are giving you this land. They gave us massive land. All the beaches, we work in 5 beaches. These are big land they offered us. We've not paid a single cent for those land. And the government came on board and endorsed that we should be giving those spaces. Expensive land space. And now we are building on those spaces to create a more sustainable program, because we don't just want to do it and go. We want to leave something in the community. So we are grateful to the Ways for Change and our partners. For helping us moving towards that agenda. So you see the power of how we can mobilize local resources when there is trust. But also we're able to do some really incredible work with our research, because our work is based on evidence. So we've shown that our work is evidence-based, and we've done research, we've done publication, thanks to Jamie. And I want to use this opportunity now to even congratulate Jamie. I know he's going to be Dr. Jamie Marshall. He's already doctor, so congratulations. And I know you are going to contribute further to our work in building this movement further. So we've had publications, we are featured in the Commonwealth reports, and so on and so forth. So we've seen that the program is moving and there is consistency, which every time we go to the beaches and run session, there's a syllabus that we follow. We communicate, we are very transparent. People will think when you come with a project, it has a Western tag. They will think you have money. We've been very transparent. They see that, look, we have limited resources. We are not taking money from somewhere to come and do something. So we have credibility in the community and they trust us. Our behaviors, the way we carry ourselves is very important. We believe in the work. We are very bold and we are determined to help young people recover from their mental difficulties. Our actions, our words, goes with our action. Whatever we say, we deliver. And that is what we call the I will statement. So this is just in brief. It's a lot. It's a whole book you could read about what we are doing. But then we talk about the future. I will say to conclude that for us, and that will be the challenge I will share, that there's a challenge. The community will ask us or the children, when they come every day, if they don't see us the next day or something happen with a mentor, they cannot show up, the children will ask for that mentor. And sometimes the children will be upset if something is missing or they don't see a program. Maybe there's rain, like during the rainy seasons, we cannot run sessions. That challenge, the children will be upset. So for us, the challenge here now in building trust is to show them that we are not coming here just for these few years. We are going to be here forever. So that is the trust we are building. And that's why moving forward, we are trying to build these safe spaces. We are trying to train more local mentors. We are trying to mobilize resources. Resources is a challenge, I must say. And we are looking up to local partners, international partners to come on board to see how we can support short, a crucial service that the country needs, because you cannot talk about development in a country if the people are not having sound mind, they don't have sound community, they don't have sound environment. Their health is very, very, very important. Their body. We have to be able to support them if we want development in those countries. So I've gone really long than my time, but this is an interesting topic. It's an interesting theme, and I like to talk more and to share our experience of how we are changing the narratives in Sierra Leone, but more importantly, how we are contributing to national development through soft therapy and empowering and engaging young people. I'll take a pause, take some questions, but I want to share with you a final video before I close. Thank you.
My name is Marie Fadika, the Messeh Leone Trust. What we do with the surfing is we promote mental health and provide a safe space for the children of Sierra Leone to be able to create a positive environment for the children of Sierra Leone to be able to deal with their issues from home or from school or with their friends or whoever, and be able to have an escape from that and be able to be happy and provide a positive environment for them.
United we stand, divided we fall. Listen to this message, hit to the call. We need you and ITY, so we sweet alone go find. We from move on with the times. We for all come together, show love to one another.
God they said what I remember not and I feel stress on my body and the water best I remember. They make a land me book.
Now I'm mental stable, my academic work. Whenever you are surfing, you feel happy.
Me family them wanna listen me, make a tell wanna something we're good for the nation. We go bring smile to ya. Let we show love for respect, so we begin them today. Put them in school for life. Let we help them for achieve, so that themselves go stand strong for help the country for unite. United Salon, now that we all they pray for. So let we all come together and help for push Salon.
Messeh, I just want to say thank you. Sorry, bit of echo in the room. Messeh, I just want to say thank you so much for that. You covered so much in such a short space of time. And yeah, I'm sure we've got some questions. I also just want to say I'm feeling exceptionally proud of everything in your team have achieved. That visit to the visit to Cape Town really doesn't seem that long ago. So it's amazing what you've achieved. And I'm really glad you were listening, because if you'd seen this guy when we were surfing, when he was surfing, all that mattered was him getting up on that board. And I was a little bit worried everything else was being missed, but I'm very glad to have been very proved wrong. I know there's a few questions. I know I've got a few on the app. This is my first time doing the app stuff. But one thing I did want to pick up, you mentioned Mami Wata in your talk. Could you maybe, I'm sure there's a few people in the room who don't know about Mami Wata, so maybe you could just tell us about that quickly.
Thank you very much, Jamie, and thank you for endorsing that we proved you wrong. But that was a good one. Now, the term Mami Water in Sierra Leone is common. It described like a very beautiful, structure. Like, I don't want to pick the gender here, but it's a beautiful structure of a human being or some spirit that sits in the water. And since I was young as a child, we are told about the story of Mami Water. It's a beautiful spirit. You go to the water, and then the Mami Water will catch you, and you will not go back home. And mostly they say Mami Water is for bright people. If you are fair, like you are white, the Mami Water will hold you if you go to the water. So that's a spirit that lives in the water. But it is a spirit I've never seen since I was a child. I've been told about the Mami Water, but I've never seen it. But people believe it exists. And if you are working in that environment, no parents, no child will want to go to the water. Otherwise, they will be caught by Mami Water and they will die. So that is the Mami Water. It's the spirit that lives in the water that we've never seen, but it exists based on tradition.
Thank you, Messeh. And that actually maybe, I'm not going to go through these questions in order, but I will get to them all. That maybe links into, that's a classic example of maybe a contextual obstacle that you've overcome. And one of the questions we've got on the Hoover app is, what have been the biggest obstacle or obstacles in the delivery of your program?
Very good question. And I think the question and the answer is in this conference. And that's why we like the theme of this conference. It is about building trust, not just building trust, but mutual trust. Trust is two-way. So the communities, the parents, the local people needed to trust us, but we also needed to trust them to be able to work together. It's the same also with South Africa, with our friends in Cape Town, the Waves for Change. We needed to trust them, but they also trust us. And you see over the years, we've had a very good and productive relationship with no questions to ask because we are very transparent with our dealings. So trust has been a big challenge at the start. But then that challenge of trust, because if people don't trust you in a community, they will not work with you. So at first, the parents were a bit timid to send their children to the program. The communities were also scared to give us space, to even give us access to the beach. Even the local mentors, they had challenges of trust. They had questions. Oh, are we going to be paid? Where is this money coming from? Is the Messeh Leone Trust being funded? So there are a lot of questions that you have to answer in a community that is very deprived, underserved communities. And also the program itself, there's a question mark. What is mental health? What is soft therapy? So the question that you have to deal with to be able to build that trust was a major challenge. But then, as I said, our ABC, our actions, they go with our watch. We are very clear about what we say and what we do. Our behaviors, we are very responsible. We look after the kids. We have safeguarding policies. We have positive behaviors, and we teach our local mentors that. Very important from our syllabus. Also, we are very transparent, which is the C, communication, consistency. So once we do that for a period of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, it is done. It's fine. Trust is there now. We've established it. And with that trust, we are able to achieve whatever we want to achieve in that community. So the sky is no longer our limits. We can fly more than whatever we want to do. That is the basis.
Amazing, thank you. And this one kind of ties in with that as well. And it's just a question around how do you recommend identifying and addressing variations in cultural and societal norms across different countries and continents? Obviously, you took what you learned back from South Africa to Sierra Leone, and there will have been differences there. How did you guys go about addressing those?
Very good question. I love the questions that are coming up. And these are the questions that has really come out clearly with the research we did with you. In fact, Jamie, the publication we did and our evaluation, the report. That's why I said our work is evidence-based. So that is the beauty. The evidence we have, the evidence shows that, I don't know how to put it in a more clear context. This shirt this top I'm wearing may not fit the other person. So we have different size, different approach, different expectations. So what we saw in South Africa, it is that the children in South Africa, some are underserved, well, mostly, and they understood maybe because of the level of education there, they know sometimes the value of this. I don't know about the stats, but you can see that how they connected to the program, and the parents maybe we are more open because of the knowledge they have. In Sierra Leone, the cultural issue is that it's a new program. They don't even talk about the subject of mental health, not to talk about soft therapy. So the expectation there is different. That's a cultural barrier, is a cultural challenge there. And also, there's also expectations, financial expectations. They want something to eat. They expect that you have money, you're an NGO. So those are cultural issues there because they've had very bad experience in the past where NGOs come, they just take pictures. For example, they say they take pictures of children and put them on social media and get money from those pictures or whatever they do with these kids. So the parents, the communities are frightened about that. And also, gender is an issue. There's a cultural issue there. Surfing, when we go to South Africa, other countries in Cape Town, the UK, whatever, you see women surfing, like girls surfing. There is a cultural context in Sierra Leone that women should not even so they should not go to the water. We have situation where the kids were coming with skirts or they are tying, how they call it is lapa, but just some you cannot surf with that. You need maybe a proper suit or whatever you rash vest. So we had to get some rash vest for them to wear to come to the beaches because it's not what they would do as girls. And the good news is that the evidence shows that as a result of the work we've been doing, more girls are now coming to the beaches and then taking part in the surfing. So those are the barriers that we have been able to overcome over the years with constant engagement and building trust. Also, the environment itself, there are traditional issues. You have to be careful the way you go to these communities and talk to the elders. These are chiefs, headmen, local people. They have cultural values, respect, the children, the way you engage them. They don't want you to come and maybe bring a concept in their head to change them because they have issues of early marriages there. They had issues of children, child labor. So those are cultural barriers that they have in this community. And for you to go with a child protection model to say, don't do this to a child, protect the child, send the child to school, and bring the child to the program, don't get them into early marriages, empower them. These are new concepts that the communities will struggle with. But we're trying to overcome those, and I think we are winning, and we are seeing changes happening. The weather sometimes, rains may affect surfing during the rains. The kids will say it's cold. They say when they go to the water, they feel cold, they don't want to surf. But surfing, surfboard is for water. So those are small issues, but we are overcoming them. And I think we are making progress. It's a big change.
And Messeh, you talked about building trust with the communities and how you've now been given access to this land, which is fantastic. What kind of, obviously we conducted some research and saw a really positive impact for the young people in the program, but have you seen any kind of impact in the sort of wider community associated with your program?
It's very, very important. It's a very important question. So generally, children in Africa are seen as the future breadwinners. That is to say, parents rely on their children's success for their future. So you see, that's why mostly you have childbirth, massive, like a family will have many children, even with poverty, because they believe that those children will help them to go to the farms, they will help them to go to the market. So there is a reliance on children for family survival. So they value whatever thing that the child does for the development of that family. And you are bringing a program here, a mental health service, and you're engaging young people, you're supporting them with soft therapy. That is a huge contribution to the community. That when we go to these communities now, you see the parents who come out and just point at the local mentor. So that's the mentor coming there for my child. And you see a child will be pointing at the mentor. So that's my mentor, my teacher is in the community. So the parents, they feel that the children coming to this program will benefit their communities. And they believe that once we engage and empower those kids, they will be successful leaders in the community. And then most of the community, like the local people, the chiefs, are also part of the program. They are local mentors. So we are providing them the full package. I call it the full package. We have a safe space where they come, which they never had before. We have caring mentors. We don't just talk to the kids. We go to the communities. We meet with the families, the parents, and also give them general guidance on many other things. Some will have challenges with health, with education. The local mentors provide this support. So we have been seen as an integral bridge, an integral part of the community. That the communities have now adopted us as their children. We are part of them. We are working together, and we are developing the communities together in different aspects, in building those communities, in engaging the local leaders, in resolving conflict or whatever in the communities, in the spaces we are building, we're providing food. So that impact is huge, but the most important impact is the mindset that we've been able to bring to these communities and how we are helping the children and the families to cope with the stress or the challenges that they face in those communities. And that is helping to stabilize, that is helping to prevent conflict, that is helping them to be able to move on with their lives with the support we are providing them. So that is huge. And we are seeing the result is evidence-based. The children, the families, the communities, they are benefiting from that service.
Thank you, Messeh. And I've got another question from the Hoover app here. Firstly, thanking you for your energy. And I've seen that in the room. It's the presentation after lunch, and people can be a bit sluggish, but the room is pretty energized right now. So thank you for your energy. But a question here: we've got a lot of individuals I've talked to at the conference so far interested in starting up or very early in their journeys with surf therapy. And the question I've got here, after my phone has unfrozen, is what would be your take-home message throughout this whole process of bringing surf therapy to Sierra Leone? What would be your take-home message that people sort of on a similar path now can learn from?
It's a very good question, and I think I will share what we have learned, because it's a learning process, and it's something I missed out in my presentation. It's another important C. So nothing is perfect. So you go along, you learn, you correct, you do research. If there are challenges, we fix them as we go along. So learning is very important as part of our work. But one thing I will share, there are many things I could share, but one thing I will share for people who want to start a self-therapy program in their communities or other countries, the first question would be, do you have the human and the institutional support or resources? So be it an institution, it does not need to be a big institution. It does not need to be, you don't have to have money. We never had anything when we started. You don't have to have millions of pounds or dollars to start a soft therapy program. But what you need to have is a group of very committed people who are first convinced and they believe in the mission and the vision of what this is about. And that is where training comes in. We are not sure about this until when we visited Cape Town and we saw how the program is delivered, and we had that training, that tool, the training that we received was very, very, very important. So you have the committed people who are able to do the work, but you must have the skill, the resources to do that. So that's where training comes in, research comes in. And I don't want to just say it, but I'm very proud of my team, the team in Sierra Leone. These are very incredible young people. I pay special gratitude to them going to the beaches, and they do it really with all their hearts, with their love, and they do it restlessly. So these young people, these local mentors are heroes, are dynamic, are powerful. They are the bedrock of the program. So go to your communities, go to your countries, look for a small group of determined, committed people who are ready to translate the vision to a mission in moving forward with soft therapy in your communities. And just give them a small push, small support training, and small, like what Waves for Change did, they brought some softboards for us, just small little thing, and they are committed. They will go out there, build trust, and overcome and make soft therapy a really good thing for the world and a driver for change.
That's awesome. Thank you. And it aligns It aligns so well with some of the discussions Joe was leading around exchanges and working together. The ISTO motto is "Go far, go together," and yeah, that's such a good sort of like support of that. Thank you, Messeh. I've got another question on the Hoover app, just asking about community buy-in. So when the community was asked or approached to commit resources, in your case it was a land, did that lead to a change in the relationship in terms of commitment, or did you see them more bought in once they had actually contributed?
Sorry. From the start, from the word go, these beaches are mostly used for commercial purposes. I remember the first time we came to those beaches first, but we had local mentors, but like some of us go in and out and we travel. And then we came to the gates. The communities, they told us that you have to pay to access the beaches because the beaches are used for their economic whatever livelihood in the communities. So they have a gate in the beach. When you go in, you have to pay for you to access the beach. And so I had this very interesting meeting with this group of young people in Bure. And they said to me, well, you cannot bring this program here because, you're going to take away our livelihood. You're going to bring people in this beach who are not going to be paying for accessing the beach. So you're going to take business from us. So they were very scared to allow us access the beach. And I said to them, I said, well, if we are going to be here forever, then that might be a concern to you. But if we are going to build a structure for you guys and leave that with you, I am not going to take that structure on my head. If we build anything here or if we empower any child here, I'm not going to take it away from your community to my other community or to London or to Cape Town. It's going to remain here. I think that was a very powerful message. Them knowing from the word go, from start, that they have ownership in this process. And not just ownership, but they have leadership in this process. So that message was well communicated to them and they felt energized. They said, okay, you bring in this for us, you live in it here, then yes, you are welcome. And so that was the first bridge we crossed. And then for them to come to a point to say, look at this land is very expensive. It will cost to get property land, like just one site. For example, in Tokyo, if the value of that land will be around maybe, let's say, be about 20 to 30,000 dollars or pounds to get just that land, because it's not just the land, it's also close to the beach. It's a beachfront, it's massive, but 3 to 5 town lodge. No community will give that land to anybody like that. Either you have to pay them, they have to sell it, or they have to do their local developments there. So once we said to them, give us this land for us to do the development, they were very energetic. One, because we've been going to these communities for years without any problems. And it was not our agenda to go and take their land. We are not land grabbers. And we've been consistent with our program. They see us come, the local mentors delivering the program consistently. And they see that the children love the program. In some circumstances, we are the children and the local mentors who champion the request for these spaces. The children at some point, I remember one beach, wherein the children mobilize themselves. They go to their parents. Some of the children are the local leaders, the kids of the local leaders. They came together, the kids. They were so desperate and determined that they want a safe space. They met the chief, they met the local leaders, and you can see the passion in the eyes of the kids that they want this program to stay. And they had no choice but to give the space to the young people. So I think that was an incredible effort by the young people, but that all boils down to the point of the power of working together. That's incredible. When people work together, they are united, they build trust, they can achieve something really great. And that's what we saw with getting these spaces in the local communities. And the program is going to stay there forever because those spaces are going to be there. Even if we leave the communities, they're going to have a soft therapy in those communities because the space is almost there and we've gone through all the legal process to get them and we are building now on those spaces. Albeit we need to, mobilize more resources to make that happen. But we are very grateful to our partners and Waves for Change and all the support we are getting so far.
And Messeh, I've got another question from the app here. What are your hopes for the future of surf therapy in Sierra Leone?
Very beautiful questions today. I love them. So there's a foundation, to have stand tall is to have dig deep. We didn't just go there and do some washy, how is it called? There's a word I want to use, we don't just go there and do window dressing or pretend that we're going to save the world or go with big ambition or expectation. I remember when we are doing our research, we are very careful with taking baby steps, step by step to go to where we are today. So we are taking time and we've established the most important part of the program, which is the young people who are interested and they are hooked to the program. They have connection to the program. That's very important, human connection, because once they are connected, they love the program, they can come for sessions, then it's established. That is the foundation you need. We can have all these safe spaces, build massive building, bring all the softboard in the community, bring all the money in the community that we don't even have. But if the young people are not connected, you don't love the program, forget it. So our foundation, our trust is in the young people who consistently come to the program because they love the service and the service is making a difference in the community. So that is a foundation, but we also have, in addition to that, the institutional strengths, like the Messeh Leone Trust, the partner organizations we work with. I have to pay credit to them, the people picking, the Messeh Leone Trust Foundation, the Young Leaders United Sierra Leone. So these groups, are helping to make that happen. And we're also grateful to the partnership we have with the government. And just be also clear in this session, maybe this video or this clip might go out. We've always dealt with the issue of expectation trust. We are very clear to the community that we don't have money. And the Messeh Leone Trust has not, take or collected money for anything that will come to the Messeh Leone Trust as an institution. Whatever resources that comes through goes to the communities, and the communities benefit directly. So we are not taking anything. Our hands are clear. We are always facilitating and enabling the communities to achieve their goals. So we don't want communities to come and say, oh, you have money, you are being funded, you are being sponsored. We are very careful with that language. And that is helping us to build trust so that we are transparent and we are credible in what we do. And they see the results, they see the evidence. And we can show them. We show the local mentors. We show them they are in the group. Whatever we do, we show them, they see it. And sometimes I feel good when they say to me that, Messeh, we trust you. Messeh, we believe, we know if you have, you could do more for us. That is the message I love. And that is the truth. And we want to build on that trust.
Have I got any? We've got 5 minutes left. Is there any questions in the room? I'm up on the questions. If not, maybe we've got time for coffee. But before, is there anyone in the room who has a question? Put you on the spot. No? Oh.
Yeah, Messeh, not so much a question, but just to say, massive respect from everyone here for what you've achieved, because I think, we know how hard it is in the West to set up a surf therapy program, but to do it in Sierra Leone with all the challenges you must face. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Messeh, I just want to say thank you. I enjoyed that hugely, and I'm sure I speak for everyone else to say they did. I know that Sierra Leoneans are very proud of having the most beautiful beaches in the world. And I'm sure Messeh, just like Giovanni yesterday, would be more than willing to welcome any of you who wanted to come visit any of the programs on the most beautiful beaches in the world. So I'm sure you can get in touch.
So, thank you, Jamie. I know we're closing now, but please permit me to pay my respects and a huge thank you to the organizers. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. You are moving the agenda forward. You are pushing the vision, the mission for us to achieve soft therapy across the world. So that's the International Soft Therapy Organization. And I was very pleased when I received a message from Chris. I know he's in the room, and thank you so much for extending the invitation to us. I've not met all of you guys there. I've not been able to meet you guys, but I'm very grateful. It's a very good room there, good meeting. I hope we should meet in the near future, and also you can come to Sierra Leone and see what we're doing. And it's a beautiful country. We've had wars, we've had bad experiences in the past, but there are no more wars. Wars gone decades back. So we are very peaceful. So I want to thank the organizers. Thank you, Jamie. And also Alan there, who's been helping me with setting up this very strange world we live now, the virtual space. It's very difficult to come online. And big thank you to our biggest partners, Waves for Change, based in South Africa. You know, the team there, Ash, team, Paula, many of you guys, thank you for the work that you've been doing, and Jamie, everyone. It's always, for us, it's always important. Gratitude is an important element of our work we do in Sierra Leone. You know, it's also the banana culture. You have to celebrate people for when they do things that are amazing, and the kids love it when they go to the water. And we do what they call the banana culture, which we call one pot. So we have a culture that we celebrate people. So we have that in us, that we celebrate, you know, you guys, we celebrate all the work you've done and the partnership we have. And we hope we'll continue with this. And for us, we'll be happy that we have made a mark. We've left something in those communities that the children and the children's children to come can benefit from. I really appreciate. Massive thank you. I'm grateful.
Thank you so much, Messeh, all the way from Sierra Leone, for being here today. I don't know if you can hear our applause, but it is in the room. Everyone's really... Thank you so much, Messeh. All right, I'm very excited to introduce our next speaker. We're going to go straight in. We're going to continue our stream for the ones on Hoover. Really excited because we've spoken a lot about what nature, the waves, the beach does to us, does for us, really. And we have not yet touched so much on what we can do for nature and the beach. So I'm excited to introduce you, Hugo, the CEO of SAS, Surfers Against Sewage, talking about how to protect our blue and green spaces in the future.
Thank you. How do I follow on from that? That was pretty incredible. Welcome everyone, and thanks to Joe and the team for inviting me to speak today. They do incredible work at the Wave project, and nice to see some familiar faces in the crowd. Nick from the Wave, good friend, and one of our big fundraisers, Alice, over in the corner there, who swam from Cornwall to the Isles of Scilly recently to help support Surfers Against Sewage. So amazing people, amazing people. And look, this is my third event back since we could be in the sort of same room together. I've been so used to, as we all have been, seeing tessellated, pictures of people on a screen for the last 2 years, and it's sort of almost quite overwhelming at times to see people in the flesh again. A great privilege, and the human connection is so important to Surfers Against Sewage, and so important to many, if not all, of the projects being spoken about today. People supporting people, whether it's in environmental projects or anything else. So I run Surfers Against Sewage and have done for the last 13 years. I took over in the last financial crash, actually, in 2008. It was a great baptism of fire. But hopefully I've had a good impact since then. So we've sort of grown into one of the country's leading marine conservation and campaigning charities. I have great pleasure in leading it. I'm an environmentalist, I'm a surfer, and I'm a real people person. So helping people engage with our beautiful beaches. I'd actually put in a counter offer that Cornwall has the most beautiful beaches in the world. But also the UK, beautiful beaches are right around the country. So a great organisation that's all about people and planet, not just about the planet. It's about where we interface with the great ocean. Beautiful waves today. And we campaign from the beachfront right to the front benches of Parliament. That's our theory of change, bringing people together, empowering people like you, people around the country in our programmes to take part in actions that can hopefully create change. And I'm going to speak today a little bit about some of the campaigns. I'm going to speak about the history of the organisation, how when it started originally back in 1990, how it's quite a similar time to now, but with some key differences. I'm going to talk about our global reach. Actually, the last event I spoke at here was a key event for Surfers Against Sewage, the Global Wave Conference, which brought together many organisations from around the country to talk about environmentalism and the intersect between that and action sports like surfing. And so I think it would be wrong to carry on without touching on the pandemic and how it's affected us all. What are 2 years we've been through, and congratulations to all of you for getting through it. It's been a tough time, and the ocean's been a big help to us all. But some pretty sort of shocking things that have come out of it. Of course, the carnage that it's created around the world. Some of the backward steps on the environment. This was a photo I took at my favourite beach, Perranporth, just near where I live. I went swimming one afternoon with my son Darwin, and there were face masks all over the place in the water. 130 billion single-use face masks are used every single month in the world, chucked away, discarded, or ended up in the ocean. We've seen the return of lots of single-use plastics. We've seen some good things as well. Globally, carbon emissions went down by 7% in 2020. Sort of good news, but also terrifying. The whole economy stopped just to reduce it by 7%. So we've got a lot of work to do over the next few years. But I think we all realised how important the ocean is to us during the pandemic and outdoor spaces. We did a survey of the public just as the sort of first lockdown was coming to an end. And actually, the beach and the ocean were the two top scoring environments that people missed. Getting out next to the big blue, in the big blue, surfing, swimming, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, whatever people want to do in the ocean. And that was sort of telling and shows just how important the ocean is to us, just how important it is for us all to come together to protect the ocean through various campaigns. Not just on water quality, not just on plastic pollution, but on climate, of course, now in this crucial year for climate change and the decisions governments will make in just a month's time. It made me really realise how much I missed the ocean. It was weird when we literally couldn't go surfing. This was, I think, one of the first surfs I had just after that lockdown period. Port Tagholm. I think it was just 3 of us out on that peak that day. There were some good things that came out of but really like a really powerful thing. And we made a film this year to talk about the ocean and climate emergency, to talk about how much the ocean means to people, whether it's surf spots like Port Tagholm, which is actually one of the sort of birthplace of Surfers Against Sewage, really. They used to call it Port Tampon back in the day. There was so much sanitary waste on the beach. But we made a film to talk about that, how important it is to people's mental health, physical health, how important it is to all of our health in terms of the ecosystem services, I hate that term, it provides for us all. I'm just going to show it to you before I carry on. think that sort of says it all in terms of why we're fighting hard to protect the sea. So important to so many people for so many different reasons. Quite an emotional film when you see the range of things. And of course, we're an environmental charity, and we're trying to protect the sea for everyone. The sea brings us together. This is a quote from sort of one of my heroes, Jacques Cousteau. The sea, the great unifier, is man's only hope. Should be people's only hope. Now as never before, the old phrase has a literal meaning. We are all in the same boat, and we really are. We're all dependent on the sea. The sea brings us so much, and we're here today to talk about that. Talk about what it brings to people, how it's good for people's health and well-being in so many ways. And how the health and well-being of the ocean is something that we all have to work together to deliver. I'm going to sort of go right back to the beginning of Surfers Against Sewage, just to kick off this bit. So we were actually founded back in May 1990. The 90s, quite a sort of radical era of people rising up. This is a photo of the poll tax riots against, of course, a really unfair tax that happened at the time. I'm old enough to remember those quite vividly. I grew up in North London. And of course, yesterday we saw unfair removal of financial support for some of the least able in society by the government, which is pretty shocking. And we're seeing a lot of similarities with this decade to the 1990s. Again, the 90s, a decade of people taking environmental action, protesting against new road developments, protesting against new housing developments, all sorts of different things. Of course, social and equality issues as well, things we're seeing today. And it was a time that Surfers Against Sewage rose up. Raw sewage was pumped out around the coastline without any treatment whatsoever. The water companies had been newly privatised in 1989. And with that, they had to make some investments to stop the sewage being pumped out as it was into the sea. So it was people power, people demonstrating with gas masks, surfboards, giant turds in Cornwall, in London, in Westminster, all over the place to voice their disgust. They were sick of getting sick from going into the sea to do what they loved most. It was people power, people coming together, one of the best recognised sort of campaigning emblems of the 1990s. It's what got me involved. I first got involved in September 1991, just up the coast at Polzeth. I took part in a competition called Surf to Save that supported SAS, supported Friends of the Earth and Greenpeace. I was a bodyboarder at the time, actually. I love bodyboarding. My son's a bodyboarder. And I got through to the semi-finals, which was good. And I think Nick's probably heard this story, but I was proud of that. Everyone in my heat in the quarterfinals got through, actually, and it started in the quarterfinals, so it wasn't that much of an achievement. I thought I was pretty good. But it was there that I met some of the founders and fell in love with the organisation. I then went on to do my career in London. I worked with the Prime Minister's wife for a long time, running her children's charity, then went into the environmental sector. But SAS was always so dear to my heart. And it was this people power, this combination of people coming together around a sport they loved on a really big issue and supporting each other to do that. And something we're seeing in abundance today. We're seeing the climate movement, particularly driven by young people around the world, rising, calling for change. And no surprise, given the ecological and climate emergency we're in. Clearly, the systems around us are broken. People are calling for more. For many, many years, they've been told it's up to them to create change. And they're doing that now by coming together and actually calling on the governments around the world to take meaningful action and fast action to protect the spaces we love. And the ocean is the key space, in our opinion, that we do need to protect and preserve for the future. And I wanted to sort of talk about water quality in terms of now. So we had a great decade in the 1990s of campaigning against the first wave of sewage pollution, to use a sort of a pandemic term on the issue. And it was a time that we had sweeping legislation coming in from Europe to help the organisation achieve those aims, namely the really boring Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive. I won't go into the detail, but it forced water companies to actually invest to stop pumping sewage out as it was at the time. So it's a rising tide of legislation, a rising tide of people coming together to take action, calling out the companies and the system from the front line where they surfed, where they swam, where they used the ocean. Sadly, we're now in the falling tide of legislation. We've left Europe. We've got weaker environmental legislation as a result. We've got very weak enforcers here. The regulators of many industries have been defunded, disempowered. They're unable to hold business to account now. So we've got the opposite of what we had back in the 1990s. We've got a system around us that's creating the paradigm for companies to pollute at will, pretty much. And the water companies are doing that. So this is up in the northeast. This is Whitburn, which is systematically failing in terms of water quality. Too much sewage coming out through this combined sewer overflow going straight across the beach. And it's even more shocking on our rivers. So every river in the country is polluted. Last year alone, 3.1 million hours of sewage pollution went into our rivers and our coastline. That's 8,500 hours every single day into the places that you love. Many places in Cornwall, many places right around the country. 400,000 separate sewage pollution events. And 3,000 of those were at some of our best beaches, as it were, between the red and yellow flags where parents take their kids, between the black and white flags where I'm normally having to surf, and the places that we expect to be very, very clean. Just 14% of our rivers meet good ecological status, and this is when we've seen a boom in wild swimming, in stand-up paddleboarding, in all sorts of new sports. New sports like surfing sort of was back in 1990. Very different to how it is today, a much smaller community around it, just as we see these new communities rising up to use new blue spaces, the blue arteries of our country, our rivers and our streams. And sadly, our bathing waters now are ranked bottom of European league tables, the worst of all. So it's not good enough. We haven't got the right legislation in place. We haven't got the right regulation in place, and water companies are basically offshoring huge profits at the expense of blue spaces. And that's why we are bringing people together, the people power that we need to drive change. And we're starting to see that have a really big impact. We've got campaigners out again on our beaches, on city streets, with surfboards, with gas masks. We haven't made a new inflatable turd, but it might come soon. And we've been pressuring government and industry. So we provide free real-time water quality alerts at over 375 locations around the coastline. We're bringing it in for rivers over the next few years, and we've started that journey. This is great. It means that you can know when and where sewage pollution is affecting your favourite beaches, whether it's Perranporth, where I surf a lot, Port Towan that I've showed you, and many, many other spots that we all care so deeply about. But even more importantly, it lets you send a message to your local MP about the amount of sewage that's going in when there is a sewage spill. It lets you send a message to the water company CEO to tell them how disgusted you are at the pollution that they're causing. And that, you may think, is a small action, but it's actually not a small action. Those emails, those text messages that are sent from the Safer Sea Service have made it right up to the Secretary of State for the Environment, to all water company CEOs, and it started a new decade of change. And we're hopeful that this decade, because of people like us, we're going to be able to clean up our rivers and hopefully have rivers that are really fit for swimming, fit for surfing, where there are river waves. I couldn't say exactly where they are. I'd probably be taken away. And you know, we're hopeful that together we can look back from 2030 on to sort of today and say that we were part of a really big decade of change for all of our blue spaces, because we all want a clean break. And we're seeing some incredible people coming together, diverse communities around the country, championing their local river, their local piece of coastline, their local lake. This is down in this is down on the south coast somewhere. I forget off the top of my head, I should know. But people who swim, surf, use the water daily, year round. The bathing season's an anachronism in this country. People don't just use the water from May to September. They use it actually probably more so outside of that season for surfing. And we're seeing this new uprising of people. On the river debate, I'm off to Whitstable on Saturday to give a talk with some MPs and the former leader of the Green Party, Natalie Bennett. 1,000 people are coming to that to campaign against Southern Water. Recently fined £100 million for deliberately dumping sewage pollution. And since that fine, still dumping just as much sewage into all of those South Coast beaches. Beaches like Brighton, beaches like Hove, places people surf and love. So people have had enough, and people are coming together. A new decade of change and uprising. And these things are sort of all of these issues. We're not just about water pollution, but water pollution is now top of the agenda. And extreme rainfall is much more likely now because of climate change. We're also seeing the connection between that and sewage overflow events. I had to actually avoid a couple of surfs recently. My son, who's waking me up at ungodly hours in the morning to get me to take him surfing. And sometimes we get to the beach and we get an alert from the Safer Seas Service and we can't go. It's happened at St Agnes, where we're based. It's happened at Pentuan recently. You know, it's disappointing for him. I can just about take it, but you know, he doesn't drink coffee yet. I can do that. And sewage pollution is one of the big inputs that destroys habitats. And many of you will know that there's organisations that we work alongside who are in the midst of trying to restore brilliant habitats that we come into contact with as surfers and water users. Seagrass meadows are shown to be one of the biggest opportunities to lock away carbon. But yet sewage pollution destroys them. So we've got all these people planting seagrass meadows, doing good. And then we've got water companies making huge profits and pumping out sewage pollution across them that kills them. That's not good enough. And lots of emerging health threats. So in terms of physical health, we've done lots of studies with the European Centre for the Environment and Human Health. I don't know if there's anyone from the ECEHH here. Particularly one on antibiotic-resistant bacteria in the guts of surfers. The Beach Bum Survey, one of our most invasive citizen science projects. It involved 200 community members, surfers, who had to give us rectal swabs. So that was interesting. But sort of groundbreaking research on sort of emerging threats, both health threats, but also plastic pollution threats, microplastic coming from the water company network. Because water companies are not only responsible for the sewage pollution we're seeing, but also a lot of the other things that come through the sewage network. And microplastics is one of those big issues. So they're one of the biggest plastic pollution offenders. And our beaches and our blue wild spaces around the coastline are really the focal points for all of these issues: water quality, ocean and climate issues, and plastic pollution. And where we all see that firsthand, the canaries in the coal mine of the environmental issues, and where they come into play with what we do on the coast. But we are more than surfers today, and we campaign on much more than sewage. And I think you'll all be familiar with our campaign strands, which are these. And plastic pollution is probably something that people almost know us more for than sewage these days. And the last few years have been particularly pointed on that issue and brought so many people together. And there are a couple of tipping points I wanted to talk about. And one was Storm Hercules, which was this huge storm that swept through in 2014. This is the pressure chart. You can just imagine from that, the surfers amongst us, just the size of the waves that were generated and the force of the wind that was generated. That area of black there is where there's the most energy that's driving shorewards towards the UK, towards Europe, and brought with it a huge amount of plastic pollution. It was a tipping point that we hadn't seen before. Before that, we had worked for a long time on plastic pollution. We had mobilised people at beach cleans. We had campaigned for legislative change successfully on things like the plastic bag charge. But before that, it was still hard to get it into the headlines. It was still hard to get that many people out onto the beach. We mobilised, maybe 10,000 people a year at beach cleans and things like that before that point. But that day was an awakening. We saw so much plastic turn up on beaches. This was Penhale Corner, part of Perranporth Beach, where I surf a lot too. And I took the team down there on that morning, and we picked up just thousands of plastic bottles. It was knee deep in places, and it was a shocking sight. And from that day, we saw many community groups and new charities spring up. Suddenly, plastic pollution was top of the agenda in communities' minds, and it was great to see. We had been struggling. We had been knocking on doors. We had been trying to get more people to come out, more surfers, more water users, more people from the general population to come and join us on our campaigns. I'd been on the phone to members of parliament, to the media about this, but it was still hard to get that breakthrough. But after Storm Hercules, it did all start to change. And there was another tipping point too, the Blue Planet 2. Who saw the Blue Planet? Incredible program, and what a documentary. And the Blue Planet sort of came to be known as the plastic pollution documentary. I had the amazing good fortune to speak alongside the producer James Honeyborn, an amazing individual who told stories about the behaviour of animals, the new behaviour of animals they had filmed, fish characteristics, fish populations, all sorts of amazing things that came out in the film. But what I was most taken with when I spoke alongside him was that out of the 7 hours of broadcasting that was the Blue Planet, only 14 minutes was dedicated to plastic pollution. 14 minutes that changed the way the world really thought about plastic, changed the way government thought about plastic, changed the way the media did, and changed the way organisations like Surfers Against Sewage could respond to it. And luckily, we were already set to do that. We had some great programs. Our beach cleans, actually, we've just completed this 1 million mile beach clean this year. Last weekend, we did the flagship clean for 1 million miles clean. Thanks to over 120,000 volunteers around the country committing to cleaning up miles and miles of coastline, rivers, and other environments. So really, really powerful thing. And this is good. People picking up plastic, documenting it with us, taking it out of the environment. Every piece taken out of the environment is important. But we know that we can't pick our way out of the problem. That's an end-of-pipe solution back in 1990. And now we wouldn't say we can just mop up sewage pollution. I don't think people would be up for that sort of solution. So we'd already come up with a new program called Plastic Free Communities back then. It was about trying to reduce our plastic footprint collectively. And we had a video to launch that, which I'll show you in a second. Our beach cleans, I think I've still got it in here. Our beach cleans are much more about documenting and evidencing what we find on the beach. This is an installation from Watergate Bay, just one bay down, for those of you that are familiar with the area. And as part of our beach cleans, we produce a brand audit every year of all of the brands that turn up at beaches the most. So we put this installation together and launched that report. Coca-Cola is always number one. Pepsi-Cola always in the top 5. McDonald's, big offender. Mondelez, who make all of our Cadbury's products, and they will try and frame it as a littering issue, plastic pollution. But it's clear that the systems we have around us, the recycling and waste systems, are just broken. They can't cope with the sheer volume of plastic we have, and that's why it gets onto our beaches. It's not just about littering. But I'm going to show you this film. Hold on a second. Go back 1 second. This was a film we used to launch plastic-free communities, actually called plastic-free coastlines back then. Pretty full on, so, but it was all about industry responsibility.
We live in a dangerous time. A new superpower is rising in the Pacific. country 5 times larger than North Korea is amassing the greatest chemical threat ever known. Yet its aggressive expansion is being ignored. Governments refuse sanctions, and leading corporations continue to profit from it. The battle for the Pacific has already been lost. But this is just the start. Expanding its borders with the plastics we throw away, it threatens the entire planet. This is wasteland.
So we realised it was. We realised before Blue Planet was broadcast that the people loved coming to beach cleans. They wanted to do something, but they wanted to do something more than beach cleans. They wanted to get active in their community, whether it was by the coast or inland. And so we devised this new scheme, Plastic Free Communities, a 5-step plan, sort of based on transition towns and fair trade towns for connecting people, connecting individuals with local organisations, with local MPs, with local government and local businesses to work on reducing their plastic footprint. And I was so pleased this was finalised before Blue Planet, because it was there ready and waiting. And we had what we thought was an ambitious target to have 125 communities working on the programme by 2020. We quickly went past 125, and we're now at about 850 communities working together to reduce their plastic footprint. So one of the biggest community movements on plastic pollution. This is actually Plastic Free Canary Wharf, which is a bit of an outlier, but just shows how far it reaches from city centres right down to here. I think there probably is a Plastic Free Morganporth, but I'm not completely sure. I'm going to show you another film. Sorry to bombard you with films, but I love all 3 of the films that I've included. And I think we all know that plastic pollution, water quality are just one part of the problem. And there's so much of the ocean that's unexplored, under threat from many different fronts: industrial fishing, climate change, of course, chemical pollution, and we launched this film a couple of years ago, The Creature, to talk about exactly really how little we know about the ocean that we love. It's called The Creature.
I think it was. I've never seen anything that looks like this. It looked like a whale, but I don't know if it was a whale. I don't know.
Like a big lump of, like a...
It looked initially like a seal, huge seal. Amazing.
Very strange.
It was hard to know whether it was alive at first. But then there was a slight wheezing.
It was amazing how everybody pulled together so quickly and did the best that they could.
Reaching in and pulling out so much stuff.
We're just trying to get her to breathe again.
The kids were incredible. They had just like this natural instinct to care for things.
Sounds bonkers, but there was...
It was kind of like a flash in.
Pulsating.
It was definitely responding to us in some way. We thought we'd saved her, but it was...
When its energy kind of went.
I think we all knew.
Once the tide came up, we let it go.
And it just felt right to give it back to the sea.
Another pretty powerful piece of filmmaking. Actually, really showed, that emotional connection people have with, surf spots, beaches, and the wildlife that live within them. It was actually just a week or so after that there was a new scientific report that came out of undiscovered species with plastic in their stomachs. Very small, not as big as the fictional creature, but that story was very true to life and reflective of the scenes that people see around the world of whales, dolphins, and other enigmatic creatures washing up, dead and entangled at the spots that they love. So yeah, it was actually also interesting because I got lots of calls the day we released that saying, did we save it, and where is it? And it was that powerful. I had people in tears on the phone, which was sort of the intent, but actually just a facsimile of the real life stories. So yeah, look, people power around the beaches we love, and what sort of. But I want to sort of finish on a high note. And some of you might have been at this event with us in June. The world's leaders got together just a few miles down the road in Carbis Bay for the G7 summit, a moment that decisions were being made around the future health of our planet, the way our society would be run, and we brought together the biggest ever paddle out, I think in the world. About 1,500 people at Guinea-based Beach in Falmouth for this amazing ocean and climate emergency protest, a peaceful protest. One of the first sort of really mass participation things we did after lockdown. It was pretty overwhelming to see so many people out. The sun came out. The media came out. We reached 2.6 billion people with this action through the media. I'm never sure of how they calculate those stats, but I'll take it. 2.6 billion sounds good. So we had a lot of people there. We wanted an aerial shot of this, but we totally messed up. The drone sort of broke, didn't have the right license. We were intending on having one from above, so it was the best shot that we never got. But just shows how powerful the ocean is for people, how many different people it brings together doing different things. As I say, we're more than just surfers. We're more than just about sewage. We're in a key decade. We're in the ocean decade. We're in the decade of ecosystem restoration. We've got two huge moments. We had the G7 and we've got COP26 coming up in about a month's time. I'm going up to Glasgow. That's where we're going to be representing our communities. We're taking some of our youth ambassadors up there to deliver our Youth Ocean and Climate Manifesto to the Secretary of State, and to hopefully cause a bit of a rumpus. We may not get 1,500 people in the water in Glasgow in November, I suspect, but it should be another good moment. Of course, such a critical moment for the world in terms of its decisions around nature restoration, and the ocean should be central to the climate discussion, in our opinion. And it's here that the decisions are made in this country. This is where all of our campaigns tend to focus their energy, and it's good to reflect on what we have done successfully together with our community. So not just tackling that first wave of sewage pollution and tackling the second wave at the moment. But on plastic pollution, the legislation on plastic bags was something that we worked on with many people around the country to deliver that through the Houses of Parliament. The commitment to a deposit return scheme that should eliminate plastic bottles from our beaches, something that our communities worked on with us, something that we took to Downing Street, to the Houses of Parliament, and that we will win on. The ban on straws, stirrers and cotton bud sticks, something that Surfers Against Sewage volunteers helped drive forward in this country. And with the climate debate, we're having a very good conversation with the government about what we want to see for that. So this is where that theory of change often ends. People coming together to shout about the places they love, to document the evidence and present the evidence of the issues they're seeing, and tell the true stories of how we need the ocean and how the ocean needs us. And that is, again, projected through the media, something that's so important to create change. Still very true, still the place that politicians will often absorb their daily news over breakfast. And the environment is never saved. It's always in the process of being saved. Just as I told you about today, the sewage pollution issue came, it got tackled, it went for a bit, it came back, and it's the same with all of these things. We've got to keep fighting for it. We've never won, and it's important that all of us come together to protect the ocean for now and for the future. And just to leave you with another quote from my favourite author and writer, Rachel Carson. In every outthrust headland, in every curving beach, in every grain of sand, there is a story of the earth. Those who contemplate the beauty of the earth find reserves of strength that will endure long as life lasts. And I think that encapsulates for me the experience we have on the coastline and how we can use that to drive change. And I'm going to leave you on that note. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you so much, Hugo. I don't know about anyone else, but I definitely had a few tears watching those videos. Really emotive watching. We have some questions on Hoover, and I'm sure there's going to be questions in the room. Who wants to go first? Hoover or room? Hoover or room? Here we go. Let's do room quick.
Hi, I've sort of got a double question.
Yeah.
That's all right. One is I'm really curious as to the actual technology that you guys are using for monitoring the sewage outflows. It's always sort of been a marvel to me that you've got so many places covered every day of the year.
Yeah.
And the other is, how is that being used as data for legal action against these water companies? Is that something you've ever thought of? Because I know that environmental lawsuits are now becoming a really big thing. There have been some massive successes in the news with that.
Two good questions. Yeah, we were probably the first to champion the access or demand the access to the telemetry that's on combined sewer overflows. So there's a network of sewer overflows. There's about 30,000 around the country, I believe, and we access just the data for the ones that affect bathing waters, designated bathing waters. And we campaigned long and hard and pressured the water companies to provide that to us. So we access that data from that telemetry. So it's sort of, as it were, lasers reading when there's the water bypassing the sewage treatment works. So we access that. I'd be very happy to have a conversation with you and share a bit more data on that. All of this data now is a legal obligation for the water companies to release, both for the coastline and for rivers. And we're now campaigning to get real-time data for the river locations that we're going to be trying to designate as bathing waters over the next few years, because we want to see the same sort of change on our rivers as we probably saw on the coastline in the 1990s. If we designate bathing waters, we're going to do 20 a year for the next 10 years, 200 by 2030, and use that to demand change on our rivers for everyone, so right around the country. And there may be legal actions. It's more complicated. We're talking to various people about that. We've got a very good network of a sort of a collaboration with other charities called the End Sewage Pollution Coalition, and we have regular conversations with some of the spikier campaigners out there about that possibility, people like Fergal Sharkey, who pulls no punches.
Thanks, Hugo. Question on Hugo. Can we ever have plastic-free communities with the microplastics and overflows within our sewage-water systems? And that's from Sammy.
Yeah, look, it's a good question. I think that the plastic-free communities campaign that we've got is not necessarily about getting rid of all plastics in any community. It's about getting rid of much more plastic in each community. We recognise that plastic is everywhere. It's everywhere in this room. It's everywhere in our lives. And most plastics, if not all plastics, will shed some of their plastic to become microplastics. When we walk across this carpet, when you walk around in your shoes, when you drive your car, when you do anything. So it's pretty intractable in many ways. But we can get rid of some of the really bad single-use plastics. And I think we can genuinely create a new model around that. So we're seeing a lot of new plastic-free shops, alternative service provision, refill stations, lots of things that are very good for it. And it's about reducing our collective plastic footprint rather than sort of letting the perfect get in the way of the good. And it was really difficult because when we came up with that title of plastic-free communities, we just didn't think it was as catchy to have a little bit less plastic communities or slightly less plastic communities. It needed to say what it sort of really wanted to do.
Absolutely, thank you. Jamie, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, can do.
Yeah.
I guess this is a question for us as people who are using these blue spaces, and as the evidence builds towards the health and mental health impact of blue spaces. How do we prevent us becoming part of the problem through like the commodification or the over medicalization of those spaces? Like, what would your thoughts on that be?
Part of the problem in what respect?
Just turning the ocean into another commodity that we don't respect. Sorry. Turning the ocean into a single-use plastic.
Well, look, I hope that I think it's a wild space, and to the sort of it's a great space that brings us all together. I think that hopefully, and my aim as CEO of SAS is to create campaigns that can empower people and enable people to take action, to protect those spaces, to be involved, to have a voice, and I think it's hard. It's hard. I mean, I think part of your question sort of covers the fact that there's more and more people wanting to use our beaches anyway. There is a carrying capacity of any natural space. We probably exceed that at times in the lineup across the dunes, and that is a challenge. More and more people want to surf, but I hope that our campaigns can help. Our campaigns, amongst many other brilliant organisations, Greenpeace, Sea Shepherd, lots of people doing good things, can help people be engaged to keep them in their sort of wild state. I mean, I would also say, sort of controversially, as a surfer and people who use the sea, I think we should probably decide at some stage where we're not going to go anymore, and it's up to us not to go to places too. We shouldn't be cutting down more pristine sort of jungle, dunescapes, whatever, to find the next wave. I don't think it's a good enough excuse, and we should say maybe, just maybe, part of the protection of the ocean is going some places should not have human footprints on them.
Okay, we've got a couple more on Hoover. Please, can you give us 2 takeaway items? One that we can do on an individual level, and one that we can do as a community-business pressure activity.
Yes. Firstly, grab your phone and download the Safer Seas and Rivers service. Sign up for alerts at your favourite beach, whether it's a place you go to for holiday, or whether you go and surf there every day. If there's a sewer spill, send an immediate message to your MP and to the CEO. Build the pressure. It's genuinely working. We will see change over the coming years. It will take time to put the infrastructure in place, but we will see change. So do that. If you're a business, you can sign up to our Plastic Free Communities business program, and all of the toolkits in there to help you reduce your plastic footprint and connect with like-minded businesses and support each other, and actually tap into the channels that SAS has. So you can do either of those things, or both.
Brilliant, thank you. One from Katie. Do you want to ask in person? Yeah.
Hi, thank you, first of all. Just really quickly, it'd be a shame not to pick your brains. Surfers Against Sewage have been amazing at fundraising. Obviously, lots of charities here, and most of us are not always struggle with it, but always looking for tips on what's the best way to raise money for your charity. While we've got you, can I ask any tips?
Good question. Good question. Well, look. I think when I started, it wasn't that simple. We didn't really know what I'm going to use like a horrible term. We didn't really know what our products were, what we were selling to our funders. And it is a transactional thing with trusts and foundations, with your potential donors, with members, and you've got to make sure that people are clear with what you're doing, what your unique impact is, what you're trying to achieve. And so making sure that that's clearly articulated. I think it's important to have a diverse spread of sort of thinking. You've got, of course, trust and grants, you've got corporate relationships, you've got individual giving, you've got membership schemes, and think about what's most appropriate for your charity. Not all streams work for all charities, but at SS we've worked hard to make sure we've expanded each and every one that we can and that's appropriate for us. Work out, sounds stupid, work out really how much you need. And put a good plan together that supports that, the vision, the numbers behind that, and finance behind that, and keep talking to people. Get in touch with people, have meetings, become a salesperson for what you do. Everyone in here will be passionate about what they do, and I think that makes it that much easier. Yeah, that's my starter for 6. Hope that gives a little bit of an insight.
Thanks, Hugo. I've got one more online if you're happy to answer it.
Yeah.
How can we translate this tangibly for each of our surf therapy communities to create collective impact?
Well, look, I mean, first and foremost, we're really delighted that we've completed our first 1 million miles of the 1 Million Mile Beach Community. And over the next 9 years now, we'll be doing 1 million miles a year. And we're looking for community partners to be involved with that. We want to mobilise more people. Hopefully we can smash that target. So any organisation that wants to be a community partner, we would welcome that. Get involved. We could provide the toolkits to support your communities and your teams. I think we're the only charity that actually gives all of the litter pickers, the bags, the literature to its lead volunteers. So get involved, and then you can be part of the whole communications program and building the national movement. This is the biggest beach clean movement in the UK. So get involved.
Do you ship internationally?
We can explore international partnerships, absolutely. I know my team is constantly coming to me going, can we do some more international stuff? And I'm like, yeah, just let's watch capacity.
You have a whole room,
So, yeah.
whole audience.
So yeah, we'll do our best. So yeah, we're very happy to have the international conversation, and anyone here in the UK can be involved. I think the Wave Project are already a partner on it, which is great, and we're very grateful for that. And I know that the Wave is also going to sign up for next year.
They will be. Thank you so much, Hugo.
Well, thank you all.
We have a short break. There is cake. Go and help yourselves. Quick one on Hoover tonight. If you're coming for dinner, can you let me know? We're going to the stable at Fistral. I'd love to know numbers. It'd be great to have loads of people there so we can keep talking and keep sharing and keep networking. Thank you.